All right, year 7. So here's what I would like you to do. Could you please take those cards? Nice save. Take those cards, pop them back inside the box for me, all of them. As you're doing that, just quickly look on the floor around you because I have used playing cards in teaching maths for many, many years. I'll take that for you. And one of the things that's always challenging is every time you use them, when I take them back to the staff room, I'm also always missing one or two. So sometimes, this is not an example, but sometimes a trick requires every card in the deck, and so we don't want to lose any, right? So just double check you haven't accidentally dropped one, especially if you've got a green deck because it blends in. Okay. Now, once you've done that, I'd like you to open your books with me, okay? Because some of you have been writing down a few things and taking notes. Others of you have not. That's totally fine. But you will need your book for this bit because I would like all of you. You're giving me eye contact, which is good, but you're not getting out your book, which is not so good. So please get out your book. Then go get it. Get your book out. And if you want to make a heading, you can call this Jack the Hunter, if you want. Thank you. Jack the Hunter. The date today is the 17th of October. And what I'm going to do is, actually, you can, thank you, I'll take that. But you can leave your cards. I'll come and collect them in a moment. But if you've still got yours on your desk, just leave it. That's totally okay. Smooth, well done. All right. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to write with me an explanation of what I'm doing up here, but particularly, not just like he put down a card, but I want you to explain to yourself, oh, that's the concept, or that's the mathematical bit that explains what is going on. So that's not all of it. It's not a transcript. You're going to have to be thinking hard with me about which bits are important, which bits aren't. Don't worry. I'll give you a hand. I'll pause at bits that I think are super important. If I don't see you writing, I'll be like, hey, this is an important bit, right? Just to send it home to you. Okay? So what you can see in front of me is something a little bit unusual. This is something I tell people to never do, which is to mix together the different decks of cards, because it's just a recipe for like ending up with mixed up decks. But you're going to see why it's actually very useful for us to have a few colors here to understand what is happening. In mathematics, when you're solving a problem, you often get presented with lots of information, lots of different numbers and symbols, and part of what is important, or I should say, part of the skill of being a good mathematician is being able to see when are the details important and when are they unimportant. Remember at the beginning of this trick, I asked you to shuffle the deck and make it all mixed up, right? Was it important to the performance of the trick that you shuffled your deck?
No.
It wasn't, right? It wasn't important because as you went through, right, apart from the jack, you weren't really looking at all at any of these cards and what they were. You treated them exactly the same way, whether it was a 4 or a 6 or a 9, it didn't matter, right? So this is the kind of thing where when you're in a mathematics problem, right, you might see, for example, literally just yesterday, the year 12s, they did their HSC mathematics exams. Well, most of them anyway. There's one more left on Friday, but most people did their maths exams on Friday. Some of the questions are like a page long, like an A4 page, right? Now, part of what it means to be a good mathematician is looking through that and saying, some things are important, some things are not. One of the things that is important, which wasn't obvious when I first did the trick, and that's why I'm highlighting it to you now, is that when you have a think about, I'm just going to recreate the trick as we did it before, right? Being able to see where your piles go as you divide them, as you combine them is very, very useful, right? So do you remember I had my Jack the Hunter, right? I'll just put it here so you can see it. And then you had your mystery card, okay? Now, I've just, by chance, picked a 9 of diamonds, but it doesn't really matter what it is, right? It could be anything. And I've just picked a yellow card just so you can see it more easily, okay? So that's there. Then you've got, do you remember? Can you help me remember? What are these two piles? Piles of 15 cards. So I'm going to call this one your 15, it's red, and this one's my 15, it's blue. Okay. Now, what did we do at the beginning? We separated these into 2 different piles, like so. Okay. Now, remember how I gave you choice? And in fact, I didn't look carefully as to how I divided them, right? What that should signal to you is it actually doesn't matter how it's divided. I could even have put, for example, I'll do it just for the sake of illustration. I could have put just a single, let's make it neat, a single blue card over here. It's just one, there you go. And not had any more, right? So it doesn't even have to be even close to half, right? And then I was going to hide your card and then hide Jack the Hunter. How did we do that? Do you remember what we did? Yeah, go ahead.
You place Jack the Hunter on one side, one pile of yours, and you place the yellow card on one pile of ours.
So then, I actually did Jack later, but it actually doesn't matter whether I do it sooner or later. I would then bury it, your secret card, between one of these two blue ones. Which one would you like, by the way, left or right?
Left.
People always love left. There it goes, hidden inside there. And then Jack the Hunter gets hidden in the other one. Okay, now just look at what we've got at the moment. Here is your card hiding in here. And then here is Jack the Hunter hiding in here. Now, at this stage, what do we do with these two piles?
You stack them up.
I stack them one on top of each other. I combine them, right? Now just watch this really carefully. This is what the colors are for, okay? Suppose I put Jack's pile on top. Can you see, once I put Jack's pile on top, what do you notice about the blue cards? They're all together, right? What if I didn't do that? What if I didn't put Jack's pile on top? What if I put it on the bottom? Here it goes. Ah, now all the reds are together. Now here's one of the wonderful things, right? The blue pile and the red pile, you know exactly how many cards there are, right? There are 15. So now we know there are exactly, whichever way I did this, right? Let me pull this out. Whichever way I did this, there would always be exactly 15 cards between Jack the Hunter and your target card. So far, so good? Here's my first spot where I'm subtly saying, hey, if you didn't write that down, it might be a useful piece of information. That these two cards, the Jack the Hunter and the target card, are 15 cards apart. Now, let me leave this on the table. I'm just going to come to the whiteboard for a minute. I need another color. Where's my red one? Here we go. I've got red, got a blue in here. Okay, so let me draw with you this situation. Okay, I think I've got enough, right? So at the moment, I've got some red cards. Then I've got Jack the Hunter. Then I have all of the blue cards, right? They're all there in the middle. You can see them, so I'm just going to draw a big... You get the idea, okay? Then here's your... I don't have a yellow marker. Sorry about that. Let's call this your target or your mystery card. And then what do I have underneath that? The rest of the red cards, right? So that's what you can see. Kind of got a card sandwich going on here, okay? Now, I don't know, and you don't know, how many red cards are on top. But it could be anything, couldn't it? Could be anything. So let's just come up with an example, right? Just have a look at it right now. What does it look like roughly to you? Looks like 5. I think 5's about right. So let's all say that there are 5 cards here. So counting from the top, what position is Jack the Hunter in right now?
6.
Number 6, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Jack comes in at number 6. Number 6. Okay. Now you already know, there goes the thread, there are 15 cards in between. Think carefully before you shout out an answer. You know how there's 5 cards on top and then Jack's at number 6. When I go all the way down, where is the target card sitting? Now I could actually start counting it out, right? But notice how there's 5 cards and then this is the 6th one? So if there are 15 cards, if you added on 15, you'd get 21. Is this card number 21?
No.
It's not. In exactly the same way as this is not card number 5, right? What card is it?
6.
It's card number 6, which makes this one card number 22. In case you missed that, how did I do that, right? To get from, the beginning to Jack the Hunter, I had to add 6, even though there are 5 cards, because it's in the 6th position. Same thing here. When I go all the way down, I don't add 15 because there's 1 left on the bottom. So I add what? 16. Okay. Position number 6, position number 22. Okay, why is this important? Can you remind me? What happens next? Like at this point, I've got all the cards in one pile. What do I do next? Someone, you guys have been so helpful to me, thank you. Someone else who hasn't given me a suggestion yet. You all remember, you did this trick, right? What do you remember?
Shuffle it into two pairs.
Okay, so I'm going to divide it into two different piles. Now, very importantly, you use the word shuffle. I'm actually not shuffling, and that's very important to me, right? Shuffling is that technical word that we use for mixing up the cards. I actually am not mixing them up. I'm very carefully dividing them, and that's important. Now, because I've made our card yellow, you'll see it very obviously. Oh, there it is. It's with Jack the Hunter. Can you see Jack the Hunter hiding under there? There go the rest of the cards. But this is not a coincidence, is it? Right? Like, the whole point of the trick is that Jack the Hunter is always with your yellow card. But why is that? Come back to your book for a minute. What do you say it again, sorry?
They're always 16 cards up.
They're always 16 cards up. This is important, but I'm still not sure why it's important. Okay, so maybe write down with me. Imagine you have all of the cards here in a pile. I think that's actually enough, right? Now, what happens physically as you divide these into two piles, right? Well, let's suppose, I got my two colors here. Do you want to deal left or right first? Which way do you want to go first?
Left.
Left, of course left, right? Should have worked that out by now. So your first card on top, it goes to the left, okay? And then the next card goes to the other pile. It goes to the right. Yeah? So then card number 3, it goes to the left. And then card number 4, it goes to the right. What are you noticing about all the cards that end up on the left? Yeah, Luna. They're all odd. You've got the 1, the 3, the 5. You're going to get the 7 as well. And then what do you notice about the cards on the right? They are even. So you've got the 2, the 4. You'll eventually get the 6 and the 8. Okay, come back over to where Jack is. 6 and 16. Sorry, 6 and 22. I beg your pardon. 6 and 22. They're both even. So they're both going to end up in this pile, right? Hey, hold on a second though. Like, I kind of like assumed it was in this position. It didn't have to be, right? What if it wasn't in position 6? What if, keep on putting markers down, what if it had been in position 7? What would that mean for this card down here? Remember, you're adding 16. It's not going to be in 22 anymore. Where's it going to be?
It's going to be in the odd pile, and then the other, and then the target's going to be.
If Jack the Hunter's even, like 6, so will be the target, 22. But if Jack the Hunter's odd, so will the target be 7 and 23. Do you see this? Okay. And in fact, if we come back over here, you can see this happens every time, right? Watch. Let's do it again. Left, right, left, right, and so on. Huh. There it is again. Now, you can actually see if I have a look at this, right? How many cards are there between Jack and your card? You can actually see them, can't you? How many are there?
3.
There are 3. Hold on a second. We started with 16 and we split them in half. What's half of 16?
8.
It's 8. Right now, there are 3 cards between them. So when I do this gap, it's not going to be 8, it's going to be 4 because I'm splitting into 2. I'm halving it every time. Are you following? What's the next one going to be?
2.
2. And then the very last one, let's keep on going. It's when there's the gap of 2 right there. Here is, as it were, the gap of 1. Can you see that? Card 1, card 2, there's a gap of 1. So what we're really doing is, does anyone recognize these numbers, by the way? 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. Does anyone know what they're called? Starts with a P. You may not have encountered it just yet, but maybe. What do you think?
Pattern?
Very close. Oh, I mean, it is a pattern, definitely. I mean, they're halving every time. But the particular kind of pattern this is called is, and this is worth writing down, they're called powers of 2. That's what happens when you double 2 over and over again, right? So, we're right on the end of the lesson now. These powers of 2 are what make the trick work, right? So how could we, remember that third question I asked you on the board? How could we adapt this trick so it would still work but be different? What's something that we could do instead of the way we set it up? Yeah, what do you reckon?
You could add more cards and change it to a different power maybe.
That's right. I could change it to a different power. The next one after that would be, what's double 16?
32.
That's 32. Do you see why I didn't do 32 the first time?
Too big.
Does anyone know how many cards there are in a deck? There are
52.
very close. 52. So if I had 32 cards in each pile, I run out of cards in my deck. Does that make sense? So actually doing more, you need more decks. What I could do though is I could do less, right? I could have done this trick and started here instead. Instead of putting 15 cards in every pile, I could have put in 7 and that would have given me a gap of 8.